Welcome viewers. Today we will discuss about organizational design and structure. It is important to understand the relevance of organizational design as a response to the various contingencies involving in the external environment of an organization, technology and human resources. And we will try to understand the relationship between organizational effectiveness, the theories of organization, structure and design. As we have discussed about different approaches of organizational effectiveness, the goal directed approach, internal systems approach, the different like competing values approach. So, we will discuss about organizational theories and explain how organizational functions are influenced by factors like strategy, size of an organization, technology and the environment. How does an organization need to design a structure in order to achieve its goals? Structure provides a framework, guidelines to work together so that the jobs are distributed accordingly. It helps in improving teamwork, productivity, establish the hierarchical relationship, the reporting relationship within the organization. It will lead to division of labor based on the efficiency of manpower, and communication channels are also decided to achieve organizational goals and objectives. The organizational design talks about how a structure should be, what are the processes, and how the culture will help in improving organizational performance. The output is the prime concern of every organization. So, the objectives, goals, or the effectiveness that we have discussed so far, it will only be possible if the organizational design is aligned according to the structure and the processes, and it should also fit with the organization's culture. Effective design can help acquire necessary resources to foster a culture of decision making to promote innovation. These days, there is a lot of discussion about innovation. New products need uh, to be offered to the customers, to the market with new designs, and this is only possible if an organization is fostering a culture of effective decision making, culture where there is knowledge sharing, where there is continuous learning. Then if the culture promotes continuous learning, if there is adaptability to the changing dynamics of the business environment, then the organization can promote a culture of innovation. Effectiveness is the outcome of alignment of the structure, strategy, goals and objectives, and it should be in sync with the external environment. When the design elements are aligned, when the organization takes care of aligning the organizational design elements, the organization achieves its intended objectives and goals. So, effectiveness is a measure of success in achieving organizational goals, which is associated with the various theories of organizations we have discussed so far, the structure that we will further discuss, and organizational design. A well designed framework enhances teamwork, productivity, efficiency by aligning the resources which have been acquired from the external environment for organizations, processes, various processes in order to achieve organizational objectives. Organizational theories provide a guidelines or a framework to understand how the structure should be designed. What should be the structure, whether it is tall structure, flat structure, less line of command, and design impacts a company's ability to gain a competitive advantage, such as the firm can be more innovative, resource acquisitions, so there is optimum utilization of resources, ultimately contributing to organizational effectiveness. The organizational design and structure are very important to achieve effectiveness. And as we have discussed so far, effectiveness is defined in terms of how the organization is able to align its culture, the organizational performance, and leadership development, employee development, process improvement, improving various processes, acquisition of resources, optimum utilization of resources, employees engagement. So, there are various perspectives of organizational effectiveness, how the firm is able to adapt to the changing dynamics of business environment, what is the provision for talent development and succession planning. All these are in some way or the other, all these factors in some form or the other contribute to organizational effectiveness. What is the importance of organizational design? It helps in promoting efficiency, speed and innovation. Better the organizational functions, the more value they will create. The correct organizational design can lead to faster innovation, better ability to solve problems and quickly generate or quickly get new products to the market. So, organizational designs are very important for an organization. Organizational design and structure are related to each other. Let us discuss how and what is the relationship of design with the structure. Organizational design is the deliberate process of creating a company's structure, systems and processes to align with the business goals. Effectiveness measures how successfully an organization achieves its objectives in terms of productivity, in terms of performance, market share, in terms of customer satisfaction, both the qualitative and the quantitative goals. The relationship between the two is direct and foundational. An effective organizational design is a prerequisite for achieving and maintaining organizational effectiveness. A thoughtful design creates a framework that enables strategic execution, the strategy for innovation, the strategy for quality. All these are possible if the organization designs a framework which will enable in strategy execution. It helps in optimizing performance, foster a positive environment so that people who are working for the organization feel motivated. There should be trust, there should be respect, mutual respect for each other, then there is a sense of commitment towards the organizational objective. A poor design, by contrast, can hinder efficiency and growth. A poor design means if the strategy structure are not well aligned, if it is not aligned with the organization's culture, the, the past way of functioning or the processes which are in place, so it will lead to some kind of lack of coherence and it can hinder in efficiency and growth, creating dysfunction even with a clear strategy and motivated employees. So, organizational design and various key components which have been contributing to performance will be discussed further. What is design? Organizational design is a holistic approach that goes beyond drawing an organizational chart. It is not just a chart or reporting relationship within the organization or a well placed structure, and it involves identifying, realigning dysfunctional parts to fit its current goals. What are the key components of organizational design? It constitutes of organizational structure, hierarchy, whether it is flat or tall, matrix, division within the organization. The structure talks about the hierarchy, the roles and reporting relationship, including whether power is bestowed with the top management or the power is given to different people or employees in different roles, whether the power is centralized or decentralized. It leads to the performance, because if an organization encourages a culture of trust, so there has to be a decentralization of power. If the decision making has to be quicker, if you want decisions to be quickly taken, and if there is a culture for participation, so the power should not be with the center or power should not be with the top management, but every employee should have a say in the organization in decision making. So, there is a concept of decentralization or empowerment in some organizations. Common models of organizational designs are hierarchical, a traditional top-down structure with a clear chain of command. In some organizations, there is a top-down approach with control mechanism at the top with a clear chain of hierarchy or clear chain of communication or command. In some organizations, there is minimum management layer, or we say lean organizations, where the structures are where there is a flat structure which minimizes with minimum management layers, which emphasizes on autonomy, communication and speed and efficiency of decision making. Because if you are not controlled by the top management, you can take your own decisions regarding how to provide better services to customers, how to improvise the processes through which you can offer better products. So, people in those organizations feel empowered because the organization, it's a perception that organization understands or values their contribution and gives them or has a faith on their decision making. Matrix type of structure is a grid like structure where employees report to multiple bosses or multiple managers. It is common for the project based work. And why are we discussing the different types of designs, the different common models of organizational structural designs? The reason being, the organizations have been seeing an environment which is highly vulnerable, which is not static as in the past, but it is highly dynamic, complex, or you can say vulnerable, uncertain, complex and ambiguous business environment, which calls for the changing structure of an organization. Divisional structures divides a company into interdependent divisions based on products, geography or customers. Or how does organizational design drives effectiveness? Design influences effectiveness across several dimensions. Strategy and alignment, it enables execution. The most important purpose of organizational design is to build a framework that supports a company's strategic goals and objectives. So, how to achieve goals? By defining roles, responsibilities that are focused on the strategic priority. A good design ensures the entire organization is pulling in the same direction. It supports innovation. Flexible and decentralized structures like those at Google can promote faster decision making, agility and cross functional collaboration, which are critical for innovation. Basically, the alignment of strategy with the structure, with the culture, it starts with if an organization emphasizes on innovation. So, innovation can only be executed if there is power given to employees, if there is a participation approach from the employees, they contribute, they come up with their own ideas, they can, and their ideas can be incorporated in designing the products, they can take quick decisions without seeking support from the top, and also there is a culture which promotes knowledge sharing. Knowledge can be shared across different departments. They can also bring in migratory knowledge from other resources, other organizations. So, this will lead to cross functional collaboration and which are very, very critical for innovation. Adaptability, learning new things, all these are parts of how organizations can drive effectiveness. So, operational efficiency and performance. What is operational efficiency and how it can lead to performance? Streamlines processes, increases accountability, employees engagement and well-being. Operational efficiency and performance, it emphasizes on streamlining processes. A well-designed organization can eliminate redundancies and it can remove bottlenecks, improving workflow efficiency, leading to productivity and profitability. It increases accountability, clearly defined roles, responsibilities and reporting relationship or reporting lines of command, reduces confusion between the management and the employees, and it makes it easier to track progress of the work. If there is a well placed plan or the strategy can be executed without any confusion. So, by optimizing staffing levels and spans of control and eliminating inefficiencies, organizational designs can actually reduce operating costs. Then employee engagement and well-being. It can also help in improving engagement of employees, and it can take care of well-being of the staff by fostering a culture of positivity. A thoughtful design can create a work environment that enhances employees' engagement by giving them entitlements, by giving them respect and positions. It will increase job satisfaction because people understand that they are learning different varieties of tasks in each position. If they have an avenue for learning variety of tasks, if there is a focus on giving them a, a power to design their product by making workplace feel meaningful. What we discuss is if the employees feel that they are coming up with something which is meaningful, something which is recognizable by the organizations, there is a sense of engagement, there is a sense of positivity in the organization. Empowers employees. Structures with short chain of command can give employees more autonomy. If the chain of command is or hierarchy is very long, so the decision will differ for a longer time. The plan will not be executed as per the deadline. If there is rather, if we give more emphasis on autonomy and control to the employees over their work, which increases their job satisfaction. So, adapting to change, an effective design is not static, but it is dynamic. It provides flexibility required to adaptability to changing market requirements, market conditions and internal needs, which can help reduce employee stress associated with poorly managed change. While discussing how an organization can obtain effectiveness, so let us have a holistic view of the organization. What are the various ways of an organization to achieve its effectiveness? It's not just the outcome that decides whether the organization is effective or not in terms of the higher profits, decreased cost, employee engagement, enhanced goodwill, improved productivity, better use of technology, customer engagement and satisfaction. There are several aspects which can also give a sense of effectiveness or which can help in deciding whether the organization has been effective or not in terms of financial measures of profit, market share, return on assets, return on investments. In terms of operational efficiency, productivity, growth, efficiency, quality of products, planning, whether the plans have been executed or not on time, the goals which have been set have been clear or not, attainment of goals, whether you have decided a particular timeline for attaining the goals, and if you have delayed by 1 month or maybe 1 year, so it is not never considered to be an effective execution of a goal. Shareholder satisfaction, then satisfaction, attitudinal component of organizational effectiveness includes satisfaction, turnover, absenteeism. If there is an organization where there is mass exodus of employees, absenteeism, dissatisfaction, commitment is if the commitment is very high, then we consider the organization to be effective. Attraction and retention of talent. If the organization is able to attract and retain talent for a continuous period of time, then we say the organization is considered to be effective. So, there are various dimensions or measures through which we can measure organizational effectiveness: financial measures, operational measures, structural measures like adaptability, stability, control, information, how it is flowing, and how the organization is able to innovate or bring new products to the market. Similarly, where there are various factors which are called the antecedent factors to organizational effectiveness, like individual level variables, which includes your employees' perception or attitude, organizational citizenship behavior. Why will somebody work for the organization beyond his call of duty? It is only possible when an organization has a well placed design, when the organization is able to align its structure, its strategy with the structure and the culture, the reward mechanisms, as you have seen, which will lead to a sense of belongingness of people in the organization. So, the citizenship behavior, when the employee understands that is there is a meaning associated with what he or she is working on, if there is his contribution is being valued, recognized, so there would be increased sense of commitment. And group level, it is the leadership, team responsibilities and ability to manage conflict. So, at group level, what is the contribution of the leader? Very clearly, if the plans or strategies are explained clearly, if the vision is very clear, then people will have a way forward to execute that plan. Team's responsibility. If the responsibilities within the team or the roles have been well defined, who will be taking lead for a particular project based on their competency, if the task has been allocated, the work has been designed, or it will lead to commitment of the team members and they would work effectively for organization. Similarly, conflict. Every organization, every team will have some kind of differences in opinion. There would be conflict arising because of not having a clear plan. Conflict can be because of the roles have not been distributed properly. There is some kind of disengagement or some kind of difference of opinion because of the divergent views of people working in the group. There can be personal or professional reasons for conflict, and if the group is able to handle the conflict effectively, the outcome of the organization or the outcome of the team would be effective. So, these are all antecedent factors which can lead to effectiveness. Similarly, at an organizational level, there are various factors which can also lead to effective performance, like knowledge management. How the knowledge, the tacit and explicit knowledge within the organization is well managed. How is the resources, the tacit knowledge, which is the knowledge experience of people within the organization, how that knowledge is shared with other members of the organization, how it is documented, and how it helps organizations to learn from the past mistakes, learn from the successes, and it is again helping in improvement of various processes, in improvement of designing new products and services. The second one is the explicit knowledge which is there in the form of documented knowledge in the organizations, various libraries or repositories. If the documented knowledge can be brought in use, then the organization would be more effective. So, the organization structure should be very clear, organization's design element should be very clear, so which can also take care of utilizing the knowledge resources of an organization. Human resource management. As employees are important assets of an organization, how they are being deployed, employees are being hired, deployed in different positions, and there is a orientation, training given from time to time, their performance is being assessed without any bias. So, if the organization has a bias free assessment of employees and allocation of rewards being given to the employees based on their commitment, based on their contribution, so people feel very positive to work for that organization. There is more contribution from them coming up every progressive year and the organization becomes more effective. Structure and strategy is a next factor which is also helping in improving the organization's effectiveness. If the structure and strategy go hand in hand, like they are aligned, so then the organization can be more effective. For example, innovation is possible. Structure emphasizes on empowerment or decentralization. If there are less levels of command, so the employees can be more innovative. To give another example, if you want to emphasize on say mass production or cost minimization, then the structure should be hierarchical, structure should be line of command should be very clear, and the focus should be on the product's efficiency, and the power should be with the top management, centralized, decision, so that there is no confusion and it's very clearly the command is transferred from one level to another level. Infrastructure and development. So, these are various factors. Infrastructure is well placed, which if there is a latest infrastructure and developmental plan, so that will also lead to effectiveness. So, we talked about an integrated conceptual framework of organizational effectiveness, which is the micro level working condition, which talks about motivation of employees, the goals and hierarchy within the organization. At meso level, it talks about availability of resources, manpower, ownership, level of competition, and macro level, it talks about the type of industry, the culture and legislations, the legal boundaries, state of technology, market conditions, and chrono level, it talks about the time duration and life cycle stages of organization. Each organization is in a different life cycle stage and it has to change and adapt accordingly. The organization which is just beginning its just taking baby steps into the market, which has a different challenge in its own. There are different crises or there are different challenges in the business environment. The stages of organizational growth, like if the organization is in a growing stage, in the growth phase, the challenges are how to innovate and come up and reach the market at the fastest time period. So, time and life cycle stage of an organization is very important. If the organization has become mature, there is the product is well known, there is intense rivalry and competition in the segment. So, the organization cannot just keep idle, but it has to maintain its continuity and order by adopting to new technology, by changing its processes, by having collaboration with other organizations to revisit what are the opportunities available in the market and how they can encash on those opportunities by leveraging on their core competencies, either through the human processes or the human resources or technology, through their knowledge management system or the culture and climate, the strategy and structure. So, an organization has to maintain its continuity and order, and it has to remain sustainable in the changing dynamics of business environment. So, importance of organizational design. So, with this discussion, we come up with a new light that dealing with contingencies, the contingencies are events which might occur and must be planned for. To adapt to the contingent business environment, it is very important to have an organizational design. Organizations must be designed to be able to respond to the changes in the complex and increasingly difficult environment many organizations face. Globalization and changing IT technologies are just two challenges organizations must be ready to face. What is the importance of organizational design? Gaining competitive advantage, the ability to outperform other companies because of the capacity to create more value for resources. The core competencies, skills and abilities in the value creation embedded in the organization's people or the structure. So, core competencies can be the knowledge assets. If your organization has groomed its employees by leveraging on the training and development, so those people are adapt to, those people have developed they have become trained manpower and they can, or skilled manpower, they become talents for the firm and they can be a core competency. Similarly, technology. There are some firms which are excelling in the technology, they have the ability to acquire, learn and adapt to the changing dynamics of or the inception of new technology into their system. So, those organizations are able to create an image of technical prowess or technological, or based on their core technology, they are able to encash or they are able to create a competitive edge in the market. Similarly, some organizations have a faster response to the market dynamics because of they have an agile framework, they have an ability to acquire and be very agile. So, these are certain core competencies which an organization has. Some organizations, because of the past success or the history, they have also developed a core competency. So, skills, abilities in value creation, anything which is able to create a value in the market is something called core competency. Core competencies can be developed through the tacit or explicit resources. Tacit is something which cannot be observed, and explicit is something which is observable. For example, land, capital, machinery, all these are explicit resources. Tacit resources are employees, uh, knowledge, skills, abilities, their competencies, which can also be a core competitive advantage for a firm. Now, what is strategy? It's a pattern of decisions and actions involving core competencies that produce a competitive advantage to outperform competitors. Managing diversity, differences in the race, gender, national origin of organizational members have important implications for organizational culture and effectiveness. Learning how to effectively use a diverse workforce can result in better decision making and more effective workforce. Why in the contemporary world there is a lot of discussion on managing diversity. We talk about how an organization can be more innovative, coming up with new products, new services, or able to serve the market, problem solving. All these are possible if you have not just a homogeneous workforce but a heterogeneous workforce. What is heterogeneity in the workforce? There are people with differences. Heterogeneous workforce constitutes of people with differences. So, if there is a workplace with people from diverse background in terms of their education, age, diversity, their visible and invisible diversities with different value systems like differential abilities, people with special abilities are also there in the workplace, people with gender differences. So, if the workplace is able to accommodate people with diversity in terms of ability, experience, in terms of their gender, race and religion, national origin. So, that workplace will have organizational members who are able to come up with a culture which will be more effective, because you are learning from different people through their experience. Every individual has a unique ability to contribute. So, learning how to effectively utilize a diverse workforce can result in better decision making, better problem solving, coming up with new ideas and able to be more creative and effective. What is the consequence of poor organizational design? If we have a better organizational design, the organization is supposed to be more effective and efficient. What if there is, in contrast, there is a poor organizational design? If organizational design is not carefully thought of, not considered, it can directly impact effectiveness of an organization. There would be strategic misalignment. The structure and processes can fail to support the company's strategy, creating a disconnect that hinders the execution of goals. Internal frictions are likely to happen, poor coordination, unclear roles, and it will lead to silos mentalities. People do not interact with each other if there is a lack of a well placed organizational design. There would not be collaboration, cooperation, knowledge sharing, and the poor design can create excessive friction and conflict between the internal workforce, internal groups, slow down the progress towards effectiveness. Slow decision making, hierarchical and rigid structures. Organization has high hierarchy and rigid organizational structure that can cause significant delay in decision making. That would not result in quick decision making. So, the organization will not be able to execute its plan on time. Reduce responsiveness, inability to adapt to the changing business environment can cause an organization to miss opportunities. Employees will feel disengaged, confusion over roles, inefficient workflows, and poor work environment can lead to low employee morale, disengagement, and high turnover. Decline in the organization's sales and profits, layoffs are also likely to occur, and talented employees are likely to leave the organization to take positions in other organizations, competitive organizations. So, resources become very hard to acquire as people are leaving, organizations sales are declining, and resulting crisis may result in organizational failure. So, with this, uh, I would like to conclude here. What we have discussed is the importance of organizational design, how the relationship between organizational design and effectiveness. Then we have also discussed an integrated framework of organizational design, and how different factors have contributed to organizational design. It is not just higher profits or decreased cost or employee engagement, goodwill, productivity, technology, customer engagement and customer satisfaction that will lead to effectiveness of an organization, but there are several factors in the micro, meso and macro level or the chrono level which have also added to organizational effectiveness. Then we have further discussed about how a poor design can lead to organization's image and identity. Thank you.